Josh and Amber were one of those sickeningly sweet high school couples that made all the single kids want to puke rainbows. The kind that went to prom together, got matching promise rings, and swore they'd be together forever. Well, wouldn't you know it, the vomit-inducing lovebirds actually made it work. After graduating, Josh didn't go chasing any big city dreams. Nah, he was content to settle down in their little hometown, taking a job at Sam's Auto Repair. Tinkering with cars was Josh's happy place, and it paid enough to give Amber and their son Dylan a decent life. Nothing fancy, but they wanted for nothing. Just a modest 3-bedroom house, a dog, and all the trimmings of suburban bliss. Dylan was the perfect mix of his mom and dad. Amber's striking blue eyes, Josh's infectious smile. He was an easy kid, got decent grades, played baseball in the summer, and whiled away afternoons riding his bike around the neighborhood with his crew of knuckleheads. To an outsider, the Fielding family was about as picture-perfect as they came. Too bad that picture was a house of lies just waiting to be torched. So get this, it turns out while Josh was happily gritting his fingernails with engine grease day in and day out, his dear wife Amber was getting a different kind of grease all over her. The kind that comes from rolling around with Trent freaking Caldwell, you know, the big shot developer guy always flashing his Rolex and pearly whites like he's God's gift to women. Yeah, that scumbag. From what Josh could piece together, Amber started getting a wandering high a few years back. Trent's construction firm was building the new mall, and he hired Amber as an administrative assistant or something. Next thing you know, she's staying late working overtime almost every night. Josh was too dense to see the signs, the new clothes, the fancy highlights, and a sudden interest in cosmopolitan magazines. Then bam, out of nowhere, Amber blindsides the poor schmuck with divorce papers. Rips the rug right out from under his oil-stained feet. Turns out Mrs. Perfect Housewife had developed a taste for the finer things. Penthouse apartments, vacation homes, you name it. And good old reliable Josh the mechanic, not cutting it for her delusions of grandeur anymore. With Amber bouncing to her wealthy boy toy, good old Josh was left holding the parenting bag solo. But he wasn't about to let his son Dylan get caught up in the crossfire of Amber's midlife crisis. Nope, Josh was determined to keep calm and carry on as the world's okayest dad. So when summer rolled around, he loaded up the old Pine Green station wagon for their annual camping trip to Shinglenil State Park. Just him, Dial, a cooler of cheap beer, and the great outdoors, a Fielding man tradition. Everything was pretty much par for the course that weekend. Setting up the tent, toasting marshmallows, Dylan whining about lack of Wi-Fi. But then, get this, little man stumbles over a rusted metal lockbox, damn near buried under a rotting log, while he's off making a man puddle. Josh almost has a heart attack thinking it's a bomb or something crazy. But crazy didn't even begin to cover what was actually inside that sucker. A stash of untouched coins from the 1800s. Heavy-ass copper pennies and silver dollars, all looking pretty much brand new. The geek in Josh went wild. He could barely sleep thinking they might just hit the motherlode. At first, Josh tried to temper his excitement over the coin stash. For all he knew, they could have been worthless Chuck E. Cheese tokens. But once they got back to civilization and he started researching, that's when things got juicy. Turns out plenty of those old coins were rare as hell, like obsolete designs or misprints that collectors went gaga over. Each one could be worth thousands, if not more. Josh spent those first few nights after the camping trip practically glued to his computer, cross-referencing every tiny detail until his eyes bled. By the time the full value started to sink in, Josh was walking around with a semi just thinking about it. He'd hit the jackpot, a glimmer of hope amidst the scorched earth of his marriage. But more than that, those coins were his ticket to sweet, sweet revenge on that two-timing Jezebel he once called a wife. The chance to look Amber dead in her trampy eyes and say, yeah, your stallion Trent has a nice ride, But have you seen my new set of wheels, honey? Josh may have been a grease monkey, but he wasn't an idiot. He knew if he went waving that coin motherlode around town, half of Hickville would come sniffing with their broke-ass hands out. Nuh-uh, this was his golden goose, and he wasn't letting anyone get a piece until the eggs were fully laid. First thing was setting up an airtight anonymous identity to auction those babies off. Josh spent hours fiddling with proxy servers and encrypted email crap to cover his digital footprints. He made an eBay power seller account under some random-ass name like CoinMastaflex729 or something ridiculous. Basically went full cyber ninja to keep it all hush-hush. Then came the fun part, individually listing and photographing each coin in sexy high-def detail. Josh got such a nerdy kick positioning those little metal slices of history under the macro lens, trying to make them look like God's gift to numismatists everywhere. And boy, did those low-mint beauties sell like hotcakes. Within a couple months of around-the-clock auctioneering, he'd quietly amassed a small fortune, over 2 million big ones, just from a rusty old lockbox. Of course, Josh couldn't just let $2 million chill in his checking account without Uncle Sam getting all up in his business. He needed to stash that cash somewhere the tax vampires couldn't sink their fangs into it. Lucky for him, his best bud Mike was a whiz with numbers and shady financials. Josh hit up Mike for some crafty accountant voodoo. Yo, Mikey, I need you to work your magic and make a shit ton of money disappear. Legally, of course. Mike just grinned that sly grin of his and said, "Say no more, bro. I got just the trick." Next thing Josh knew, Mike had him set up with an offshore account in some island paradise nobody ever heard of. From there, it was like a cheesy spy movie. Secret wire transfers, burner phones, the whole 9 yards. But at the end of all the 007 shenanigans, Josh's newfound fortune was tucked away safe and sound in an ultra-secure Cayman Islands account. And really, could you blame a guy for wanting to keep his hard-earned coin collection profits away from the tax-hungry gnomes in Washington? When Amber finally served Josh with those divorce papers, he had to practically bite his tongue to keep from laughing in her cheating face. The little gold digger actually thought she'd be taking him to the cleaners. Josh just played it cool though, all sad puppy dog eyes and remorseful nods. He let Amber believe the village idiot act hook, line, and sinker. "I understand, honey. You need to pursue your happiness, even if it means leaving me with nothing," Josh would say with an Oscar-worthy frown. Amber would just scoff and roll her eyes, clearly convinced she had the upper hand. Little did she know, her ex-grease monkey hubby was about to take her dream life and flush it straight down the crapper. Josh went full method actor through those divorce proceedings, doing the whole despondent, heartbroken routine to perfection. He'd slink around looking defeated, staring at Amber with those big hurt basset hound eyes. "Just take it all, I don't care," he'd mumble, pretending the divorce was emotionally destroying him. Heck, he even pulled off a few single man tears at the court hearing. Amber fell for the whole act without question. With the divorce moving full steam ahead, it was time for Josh to start messing with Trent's money pipeline. He couldn't just take the guy's sweet life from him. Oh no. First, Josh had to make that arrogant prick watch his precious business empire crumble like an undercooked souffle. Josh hit up his buddy Mike again, this time to use his corporate cult connections from his accounting days. "Hey man, I need to utterly dismantle this Dutchbag's company from the inside out," Josh said. Mike just flashed that cartoon villain grin. "Say no more, the Mikesters got connects in all the right places to get it done." Over the next few months, Josh sat back and watched the show. Suddenly, Trent's big conglomerate was getting hammered with bogus regulatory audits and lawsuits. Suppliers were going MIA, big clients were jumping ship, you name it. It was like 1,000 little paper cuts designed to bleed that business bone dry. And the best part? Amber's albatross of a husband was clueless, desperately trying to keep his sinking ship afloat as it took on more and more water. It was like a beautiful, trashy reality show unfolding right before Josh's eyes. All that scheming and financial sabotage paid off in spectacular fashion as Trent's precious empire imploded on itself. The guy went from arrogant captain of industry to dot-com bubble washout in what felt like a few months. Josh would crack open a cold one and watch the reports roll in. Another round of mass layoffs, another subsidiary going tits up, another mistress taking Trent to the cleaners. With each new bombshell, you could physically see the color drain from Trent's smug mug on the evening news. His tailored suits started looking more ill-fitting. The shoe was on the other foot now. Eventually, the money ran out, and Trent's hotshot lifestyle came crashing down like the house of cards it was. Turned out the big shot wasn't so big without his millions to throw around. The lavish penthouse, the European supercars, the endless stream of skinny mistresses, it all went poof faster than you can say broke. Of course, once Mr. Moneybags went flat broke, he wasted no time kicking Amber's ungrateful butt right to the curb. Karma's a bitch, ain't it? After Trent kicked her to the curb, Amber's life went into a flat spin. One day, she's living the trophy wife dream, personal shoppers, endless salon appointments, $1,000 bamboo toilet paper. The next, more like dumpster diving and crashing on her loser friend's couch. She burned every bridge to her old life when she traded up to Mr. Moneybags. Josh has to admit, watching his former ball and chain slumming it on the streets was downright delicious. There was Carrie Bradshaw wannabe Amber, with her Saks Fifth Avenue rags and untamed Fraggle Rock hair, begging for chump change outside a 7-Eleven. He may have felt a twinge of guilt if he wasn't still so doggone mad at her. Eventually, Amber's pride cracked, and she came crawling back, a broke-ass shadow of her former self. "Gee, Josh, it's me, Amber. I messed up real bad. I got nowhere else to go. Please, you gotta help me out here," she pleaded through the door of his crummy rental, like some urban Dickensian waif. Oh, this was gonna be fun to watch play out. Josh had been patiently waiting to rub Amber's snotty nose in his newfound success, and boy was she in for a rude awakening. No more grease-stained overalls and rusted pickups for this guy. Josh was living the high life now, all funded by those numismatic treasures he stumbled upon. He started by trading in his dumpy rental for a swanky high-rise penthouse right in the heart of downtown. This place made Trent's old digs look like a college dorm room. Josh was talking floor-to-ceiling windows, in-unit spa, wine cellar loaded with overpriced vinhos, the whole money-ain't-a-thing treatment. Heck, he even hired one of those snooty European butler dudes to really sell the image. From there, it was a total lifestyle glow-up. Bespoke suits, memberships to all the elite country clubs, courtside season tickets to watch the hometown team choke every year. Josh went full-tilt living that uptown life. When Amber came knocking on his door, he was primed and ready to detonate her entire world with the shocking. Josh made sure to take his sweet time answering the door when Amber came scratching at his penthouse. He wanted to really drag out revealing his good fortune and watching the realization wash over her. This was his big payback moment. "Amber, well as I live and breathe, if it isn't my deadbeat ex-wife," Josh exclaimed with an over-the-top cheerful voice as he swung open the door. He made sure to drink in every agonizing detail of her diminished appearance. The ratty clothes, chapped skin, stringy hair. It was delicious revenge fuel. "Josh, thank God. Wait, what is all this?" Amber sputtered, finally clocking the lavish digs behind him. Josh put on his best aw shucks routine as he waved her inside with a ceremonious butler's gesture. "Oh, this old place? Guess even a grease monkey like me can stumble into a bit of luck now and then." He could barely contain his delight watching the color drain from her face. This was going to be so sweet. Just when Amber was still trying to pick her jaw up off the floor at Josh's unexpected lavish digs, he decided to twist the knife a little deeper. With perfectly timed dramatic flair, Josh's super sophisticated new girlfriend Olivia came sauntering out from the bedroom. "Oh, there you are, darling. I was wondering where you'd gone off to," Olivia trilled in her posh, upper crust accent as she made her entrance. This statuesque beauty looked like she'd stepped straight out of the pages of Vogue, perfectly coiffed hair, razor-sharp cheekbones, and outfitted in some skin-tight designer getup that probably cost more than Josh's last 3 vehicles combined. Olivia planted a lingering kiss on Josh's cheek before finally regarding Amber with a look of bemused disdain. "And you must be the ex-wife, yes? Enchantee," she demurred with a sardonic smile. "I'm Olivia, founder and CEO of my own wildly successful tech startup. But I'm sure Josh has mentioned me." Josh could barely stifle his grin watching Amber's entire face slowly contort with confusion, envy, and abject humiliation. Revenge was tasting pretty darn sweet so far. It took a couple days of crashing on Josh's couch for the full weight of her horrible life choices to really hit Amber. As she watched her ex living it up with his hot new girlfriend, eating fancy takeout off real china, she finally grasped just how badly she'd screwed the pooch. Josh could see the pathetic realization slowly dawning across Amber's face. She traded true happiness and comfort for a big brass ring that turned out to be a giant mirage. All those hours getting drilled by her personal trainer, the Botox injections, blowing Trent's money on trivial designer crap, it was all some vapid attempt to keep up appearances for a man who couldn't have cared less. Meanwhile, Josh, the same mechanic's flub she once endlessly mocked and cheated on, now had it all. The money, the penthouse, the ambitious entrepreneurial babe on his arm. All because she got blinded by greed and surface-level status. As the brutal reality sank in, Amber just shriveled deeper and deeper into Josh's sofa, a sniveling shell of her formerly cosmopolitan self. For Josh, seeing Amber crumble under the weight of her own selfish choices was the ultimate chef's kiss on his whole revenge plot. This dopey mechanic she once took for a total loser was now living the kind of baller life she could only dream of. All thanks to finding those ultra-rare coins and having the wherewithal to capitalize on them properly. Josh went from pushing 40, divorced, and stuck in a dead-end job to a multi-millionaire, sticking it to his gold-digging ex in the most poetic way possible. Overnight, he transitioned from being the one getting cheated on to the one living in a penthouse, dating a bombshell entrepreneur. As Josh sipped his premium whiskey and took in the view from his high-rise balcony, he felt an immense sense of pride and vindication. He climbed up from the very bottom, dusted himself off from Amber's betrayal, and crafted the perfect revenge through resilience and perseverance. This was the ultimate glow-up tale, going from grease-stained mechanic to a wealthy, self-made man who got to watch the person who wronged him get their ultimate comeuppance. Now that's a success story worth raising a glass to. When you take a step back and look at the whole wild ride, Josh's journey from cuckolded grease monkey to wealthy revenge taker is nothing short of a modern-day fable. Dude basically went through one of those yo-yo Lifetime movie transformations, except his ended up with him on top instead of subsisting on nacho crumbs in despair. It's the kind of underdog story that would make a creative writing professor cringe at the over-the-top drama of it all. The humble, salt-of-the-earth mechanic discovering an unexpected treasure. The vengeful, secret financial machinations to drain his enemies' coffers. The big comeback with a lavish penthouse and a babe on each arm, all while the lying ex-wife is eating cold canned beans on the shabby couch she's crashing on. Talk about an epic glow-up. Yet that's exactly what makes Josh's tale so deliciously satisfying. He took all the crappy hardship and betrayal that life served him and alchemized it into the sweetest of revenges. From finding those rare coins to bankrolling his ex-wife's downfall, every crazy chapter added up to Josh emerging as the final boss. A self-made man who took back his power through perseverance and guile. Now that's one for the redemption storybooks. At its core, Josh's wild story is a juicy morality tale about the high costs of betrayal and infidelity. Amber got blinded by greed and status, throwing away true love and loyalty for a big swinging baller who wouldn't hesitate to toss her to the curb. And in the end, all her materialistic clawing and cheating landed her right back at square one, penniless, humiliated, and utterly alone. If there's one lesson to take away, it's that the cheating game is definitely not worth the proverbial candle. Amber made her bed and got to lie in it hard, reaping a miserable existence as the price for her disloyalty. Turns out the greenest grass wasn't on the other side after all, just a prickly bed of karmic retribution. Yet for every betrayal, Josh's journey celebrates the incredible power of grit and resilience triumphing over adversity. Instead of surrendering to the hurt and giving up, this dude alchemized his negative emotions into a wildly convoluted yet prosperous path forward. Through creativity, perseverance, and a little tomfoolery, he flipped the script from being the wronged party to the ultimate success story. If that's not a rallying cry for the indomitable human spirit, I don't know what is.